Hey guys, in this week's episode, we're going to review Knives Out. But before that, we're also going to talk about our Thanksgiving break, Waves, and Watchmen episodes 6 and 7. Yeah, so join us.
Welcome to the Casual Cinecast, powered by Cinelinx. My name is Chris, and with me as always is a man who already has his knife out. Mike, how are you doing today, sir?
Well, I thought I had it hidden better than that, but oh well.
You're always spoiling for a knife fight, aren't you?
That's what I do.
Also with us is a man who's had his knife and fork out since Thanksgiving. How are you doing today, Justin?
Good, feeling heavy. Did a lot of Thanksgiving-ing.
Okay, it's a verb.
It is now.
He gave thanks real well.
It's true. Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I guess I didn't give that much thanks, but I did eat a lot, which is what I was referencing. That's what Thanksgiving is.
Nice.
That's what it's all about, really.
Yeah, for all you non-American listeners, that's what it's all about. And if this is your first time listening, normally we like to start off every episode in a section called News on the March. So if you haven't seen our feature review, you can keep listening. It's all labeled in the show notes, and then you can just dive on out before we get to the main review and come on back and finish it at your convenience. Now, guys, this week we're going to be reviewing Knives Out by Rian Johnson, and I have a question inspired by Knives Out that I wanted to ask you guys real quick.
Awesome. I have an answer inspired by your question, inspired by Knives Out.
Oh, I should hope so. Hope it's an inspired answer.
We'll see.
What is your favorite on-screen detective?
Wishbone.
That was really quick.
I should stop putting these questions in the show notes beforehand.
Yeah, let's cancel the podcast because I think that we aren't going to get any better than that.
No, we're not. But we're going to try anyway. Chris, what's your favorite on-screen detective?
Foyle's War. Have you guys ever heard of this?
What? You're just making things up.
Foyle's War is like a British miniseries. Actually, there's several seasons of it, but they you know how the British do their hour and a half long episodes, and they'll do like 3 a year or so. But it was Foyle's War, and it's about a guy that is too old for World War II, so he sticks in the motherland or the homeland and solves mysteries while World War II is going on.
Nice.
Like who started World War II?
I don't think that was a mystery, because he solved it.
Yeah, because luckily he didn't go, and he was at home to solve it.
Yeah, he figured it out.
Anyways, wonderful.
Yeah, Wishbone wasn't my real answer, so I don't know if you want me to go and give my real answer.
Oh no,
you're gonna give two answers? Goodness. Okay.
Yeah, I want to live in a world where Wishbone is your true answer.
I've never seen a Wishbone episode. It's just the first detective that came to mind for some weird reason.
Oh, now I'm really bummed out.
Sorry.
Well, what is your favorite?
So I'm going to go with one more recent, or at least like in the timeline of their movie, than Foyle's War. And that is Gay Perry, played by Val Kilmer, from a film called Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Nice. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, I just think he's super funny and never fails to make me laugh every time I rewatch that movie. And I guess he's a pretty good detective too, because he helps figure stuff out.
Yeah. And he tells you what's under the definition of the word stupid. Or is it idiot?
It's idiot, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Okay. I ruined the joke. Whatever.
That's okay. What's your favorite detective, Mike?
Marge Gunderson from Fargo.
Oh, that's a good one.
Nice.
Yeah. She never sacrifices her manners, no matter how upset she is or how burdened she is while doing her job. The entire time we see her, she's very pregnant.
Yeah.
And Frances McDormand is just made for that role, you know? Like when you think of Frances McDormand, I think even if you've seen her in other stuff, I think you have to think of Fargo first.
Yeah, I agree. She's very charming.
She is charming. And anyway, I love Fargo. So Marge Gunderson.
Good one.
Best on-screen detective.
Besides Foyle's War.
Move over, Marlowe.
And Wishbone.
And Mr. War, Foyle.
So any of our regular listeners know that what we do here on the Casual Cinecast is every other week we review a Criterion film. And you'll notice that this week is supposed to be a Criterion episode, but we made the decision because there are so many awesome movies coming out that we just really want to talk about that we're going to be postponing our Criterion films through the month of December while we catch up on all these like really cool films that tend to come out around this time every year. So Go ahead, Mike.
Oh, I was just saying, yeah, you're doing a great job of explaining this.
Thanks. But yeah, we will resume. And Chris, why don't you tell people about our Casually Criterion episodes and what our next one will be when we do resume?
Yeah, so next year when we resume, the way it's going to work is every other week we do a Criterion episode, Casually Criterion as we like to call it. And the way that works is that we each pick a movie and then we put it out on Twitter, on the interwebs, and we let the listeners vote for the movie that they want to hear. So it's really a lot of fun to pick a movie and to let the audience pick a movie. In the meanwhile, we have a big back catalog, so if you want, go check out Umbrellas of Cherbourg. Is one that we just recently did, and look forward to next year, which isn't that far away, when we do 12 Angry Men.
Which is exciting. But that'll be my second time to see it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. I'm sad that we have to put it off, but sometimes you just got to do what you got to do.
Well, you never know. I mean, last year we did Roma that came out around this time, and that's going to be a Criterion release.
Yeah, which actually bodes well for a certain Martin Scorsese.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Who knows, right? Netflix doesn't care about physical media, so they can just sell their physical media rights to whoever.
Yeah.
Very true.
In all honesty, I've actually already watched 12 Angry Men. I was way ahead of the game on this one.
Well, that makes me one angry man, because I haven't watched it yet. Well, that was dumb.
That was funny. Not dumb. Funny was the word you were looking for.
Move us on, please.
Sure. So 12 Angry Men, like Chris said, was chosen by the listeners. So if you want to follow us on social media, that's Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Casual Cinecast. You can vote in our polls. The poll's on Twitter, but we usually post links on Facebook. You can also send us questions and topics to discuss for the films that we're reviewing each week to those social media accounts or to casualcinemedia@gmail.com. And then, of course, if you haven't done so already, you like the show, you want to help other people find the show, give us a 5-star review on iTunes. It makes us look good, shoots us up in the charts so that other people can find us easier. We'd appreciate it.
Yeah, greatly so. It is what it is. Oh, wrong movie. All right, are we ready to move into News on the March?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
News on the March!
All right, guys, before we get into News on the March and talk about everything that we've been watching and doing over the past week, I just wanted to say that, here in America, we had Thanksgiving last week. So we took the week off. And how'd you guys' Thanksgiving go? Mine went well. I did a lot of traveling. And I'm ready to be back and start recording again. But I wanted first to hear, did you guys have a good time?
Yeah, I didn't actually do much. I don't have a lot of family. I only get the one day off. I get Thanksgiving off. And to drive up to family is... Basically, it takes too long, and I'd be driving all day, eat, and then turn around and go back. So I watched a couple of movies.
That's why you were watching a movie at 10:30 a.m.
That's right. I watched Honey Boy, which I enjoyed. And yeah, I had a good time. It was relaxing, basically. I didn't have to stress out about family or worry about my uncle's racist rants or anything like that. That's actually not true. I don't have an uncle that does racist rants, but you get the idea.
I do, and I heard him.
Yeah. Oh, did you hear?
Well, not rants, but I heard some things that didn't
jive.
Weren't not racist.
Well, I want to hear about your Thanksgiving then, Justin. Sounds interesting.
Sure. Well, I'm not going to talk about that and because that doesn't deserve to be repeated, but I basically had the opposite Thanksgiving of you, and that I traveled around. I went to my fiance's parents' house in the start of the week and had a big Thanksgiving meal, and then midweek I drove 4 hours to my mom's side of the family for a Thanksgiving, actually on Thanksgiving Day for a big meal, so I ate a bunch then. And then the next day, Friday, I drove to my dad's house for a third Thanksgiving meal. So lots of driving, lots of different family, which I guess that's what Thanksgiving is about. So, I just did a whole lot of it. But it was a good time, I don't mind driving. I think it's kind of fun to just, drive around and talk with the people in the car and listen to music or whatever. So it was a good time.
Nice. Yeah, same here. I traveled a little bit and basically traveled on Thanksgiving as well because I live 3 hours from some family, and then in the same town as other family. So anyway, there was a lot of traveling involved, and went to go see the girlfriend's family, and I am full and tired of turkey for a while.
My biggest disappointment is that we ended up traveling to the same places and being in the same place twice throughout the week, and then just because of like family busy times, and I also wasn't feeling well one day, we didn't actually get to hang out, which is a bummer.
Yeah, I know. We almost could have seen Knives Out in the same place.
I know. I wanted it to happen, and it was close, but it just wasn't meant to be.
C'est la vie.
Ah, well.
You know what? That's okay. There's always next year.
That's true.
But anyways, you did see a movie, though.
Yeah, I did get to watch a movie in the same place as another member of this podcast, though.
Oh, who?
You, Chris.
Oh, yeah, I forgot.
Yeah, Chris and I, was it yesterday?
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
my. It seems like so long ago, but yes, yesterday, which is totally irrelevant to anybody listening to this podcast, Chris and I met up and we went and watched Waves, the new film from Trey Edward Schultz. Yeah, that's
What
his
has
name.
Trey Edward Schultz done?
It Comes at Night.
Nice.
And
I actually knew that. I was just trying to see if we could educate.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh. And he also
he
did
did Krisha, which was
Krisha.
a really big like indie thing.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
I hear it's good.
Yeah, it's a wonder. Like, supposedly he shot it with like his family in his family's house, and Krisha is his aunt or great aunt or I don't know, something like that. Like it's a member of his family.
Yeah, very personal to him, I think, because like this event happened to him and his family, or like not necessarily to him, but to his family. Whatever happens in Krisha, I'm not sure, but
Interesting. It reminds me of that Arrested Development joke when Maybe accidentally becomes a film producer and makes a movie based on Lucille called Gangi.
Yes, it does remind me of that. I'm not sure that it's as horror-y, but maybe it is. I don't know.
Arrested Development fans will get it.
Yeah, for sure. But Waves was a film that I had heard a lot about. I'd heard a lot of like good buzz and good word about. And yeah, so I've been wanting to see this for a while, and I finally just like realized that it was open this weekend and invited Chris and he could meet me. So I really like the movie a lot. It's a sort of a coming of age drama, and I would describe the movie as a much more raw and indie version of The Tree of Life meets Moonlight, which
Interesting.
a more indie version of Moonlight sounds like what is that?
Can you get any more indie?
Sure. Yeah. But yeah, that's how I felt about Waves. Like, I really don't want to go too much into like what the film is about, other than it's about a family and a brother and sister and events that unfold and how that affects everybody. Because I think I knew nothing about the film, and there was a lot of value that I think I gained from that.
Yeah. When you guys wanted to talk about it, I was nervous. So I'm happy to hear that you don't want to talk much more about specifics.
Yeah, definitely not. What did you think of, Chris?
Yeah, I really like this. I think there's a very strong possibility this is on my top 10 of the year. I was kind of bemoaning the fact that while there have been a lot of movies I've enjoyed over the last year, there hasn't been like the Eighth Grade that I loved, like, or Hereditary that, just, I don't know, spoke to me on a different level, but Waves is one that I can be passionate about. Does that make sense? Totally. I really loved it. So yeah, I'm excited for Mike to watch it whenever he gets the opportunity, and we can talk more in depth about it. But like almost immediately, like we left the theater and we started talking about it because there's so much to kind of unpack and talk about, and so it's real exciting. And he's an exciting director, up and coming director. I'd real interest in see what he does next.
Yeah, I'm very inspired to go back and revisit It Comes at Night and Krisha.
There's a lot of similarities in It Comes at Night and Waves, especially the way the camera moves, but they're very different movies. It's interesting to see the similarities between the two movies, even though they're like different genres.
Yeah, I saw It Comes at Night in theaters, and I remember thinking it was pretty good. So I'm interested to see Waves in like just a different kind of mood. I don't even know what Waves is actually like, so I don't even know if it's different. But I'm intrigued because I think It Comes at Night had a lot of good in it, and I'm interested to see like where this guy goes and how his talent grows in the future.
Yeah, and the same kid from It Comes at Night, Clay, I think is his name. I don't remember, but he's also
poor man's Kit Harington.
No, the kid from It Comes at Night.
Okay, I don't remember.
Okay.
There was a couple kids in that movie.
Kelvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah, Kelvin Harrison. Yeah, he's in. He does a really great job in this film too.
Yeah, everybody does. The performances are definitely worth checking out. Like, if nothing else, they're all very
Agreed.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looked like a pretty depressing movie based on the very, very little that I know about it.
Well, I don't think we're going to tell you any more about it. Just go in with that feeling.
Good.
I don't want to tell you. What I will say though, and if this is too much, just stop me. But I'll just say that there was a time earlier on in the movie where I wasn't quite sure how I was going to feel about it. And by the end of the movie, I was very much won over. So if you're watching it and you're unsure how you feel about it, I would say stick with it.
Don't leave the theater.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, this will tell you how much I like this movie. This movie is probably about like 2 hours and 15 minutes long. I had to pee probably 45 minutes into this movie. And I did not leave. So that may have actually added some to it, but I didn't leave because I was like, I felt that if I left, I was going to miss something important the whole movie. So if that means anything to you, you know, like for what that's worth.
I mean, I feel that even in movies I don't deem important.
Yeah, usually I just pee in those movies. Not in the movies. I go to the bathroom and pee.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Well, that's all I have on Waves. A high recommend from me, and definitely it sounds like a high recommend from Chris.
Most assuredly.
This movie wasn't even on my like top 15 of the movies that I even was like remotely interested in of the year. So because you guys saw it and recommended it so much, I have to like make time for this now, make it a priority. So thanks a lot, guys.
You're welcome.
Okay, cool. Well, in all seriousness, I'm excited to see the follow-up from the guy who did It Comes at Night. You really could have just told me that, and I would have been sold.
Whoops. We could have saved a lot of conversation.
Yeah. All right. Guys, what do you say we move on to our reoccurring segment we're doing as Watchmen is going on, and that's where we break down, in spoilerful conversation, what's been going on in season 1 of Watchmen up until this point.
Yeah.
You guys want to do that now?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So use your show notes. If you don't want to know anything about Watchmen, if you're not keeping up with Watchmen, then venture no further. Look at your show notes, skip ahead to the actual review. You're welcome.
Yeah. And since we took the week off for Thanksgiving last week, we did miss an episode. So for this episode, we are going to be discussing episodes 6 and 7.
Yep.
So
double get out of here if you haven't seen them.
Yeah. So I'd say go ahead and get started since we have 2 episodes to get through.
Yeah.
But personally, I can start off with that if you guys are cool with me starting out.
Yes, please do.
Yeah, because I will start, and I think episode 6 for me could be gone over pretty briefly because it is basically an extended, long, arguably creative flashback sequence that tells us some information that seemed like a lot of people were kind of figuring out already on their own. And that was the main information from that episode. And what I will say is I enjoyed the style and like some of the things they were doing visually with this episode because of, you know, her taking the memory pills and her reliving these memories. But this episode, I feel like we should be able to get through pretty quickly because I think this episode was kind of spinning its wheels a little bit because we didn't really go forward. We just learned some backstory. What do you guys think?
I'll go last. Chris?
While what you say isn't wrong, I feel like a lot of it is character development and things that we need to know about her grandpa and the Hooded Justice and why he did what he did and the way the family came to be. And so I didn't feel the spinning of the wheels. I love the story of it. And I guess it is kind of a side story, but I love the story and I love the creativity with which it was filmed, from the fight choreography to most of 90% of the episode is in black and white. But I love the way they used color. The color would pop in. And in fact, I mean, like they called out Schindler's List the week before. So I like that they called that out and then used that trope in the next episode.
Yeah.
I thought that was cool. But ultimately, I enjoyed the story. And while it may have been spinning the wheels, I think that was character development that needed to be done and explored. And I think it's done in an interesting way. So, yeah.
Okay.
Well, one of the better episodes of this series so far.
That goes to you, Mike, Mr. Last.
If you've been listening to our recaps of Watchmen, you will know that in episode 5, I began to express reservations. Or maybe it's episode 4, I can't remember which, but about exposition and how I feel like at times this show is really clunky and not very graceful with his exposition. And I am so torn with this episode because there is so much to like about it. And there is so much, there is such a good story to tell there. And it has value. And it's interesting. And it makes you recontextualize the Watchmen, the original novel, in a new way, right? Like when you read the Watchmen next, there's no way you cannot think about this new origin story. That's cool. It's a new book now. If you like this series, yeah, like Chris said, artfully told, but not that artfully, in my opinion. And here's where I feel like I've been dreading talking about this, sort of, because I don't know how to talk about it in a sense to where like I don't feel like I'm bashing it because. Well, anyway, just know that I complimented the episode just then. There's a lot to like about it.
You're in a safe space, Spike.
This show, and especially this episode, has become a mess to me. The plot devices and the reasons why things happen are so transparent from a mile away. And I'm not talking about twists like, oh, what is Lady True up to? What is Adrian Veidt up to? I'm talking like we create a museum for Angela to go and get things explained to her, instead of having two characters talk to one another. Or we create a ridiculous plot device in the form of nostalgia pills to not help you with your memory. Instead, they are this deus ex machina device that literally copies memories from your brain, good and bad, not even selective ones, just all the memories. And then someone else can take those pills and learn all the information they need to know. Again, so characters don't have to talk to one another. And all of this just so we could have an episode where they do the Schindler's List effect. And they have this montage dreamlike style. And as a result, that style fell flat for me almost the entire time. The piano in the background, the mother in color in the background, the in and out of dream things, Angela popping up in screen versus Hooded Justice, like in reflections and stuff like that. All of that, it felt like, I don't know, it felt like it'd be cooler if this what the whole show was. But instead, we have this plot device that's introduced like earlier on, but only alluded to, and then finally explained only after it's already in full effect. So I don't have time to like adapt to this new idea. They just kind of throw it out there. Anyway, I will wrap it up soon, but I will just say that I think it would have been better had we just flashed back to the past. Not necessarily through dialogue. I know I don't want like Will Reeves explaining to Angela in his wheelchair like, I was born this day. But you could literally just start that conversation and then flash back and show us his life. Or
Right.
don't even do that. Just flash back and show us his life, and then Angela doesn't need to know it. She already found out it was her grandfather from the museum.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm seeing the seams of the TV show. And it happens a lot, not necessarily even in the pills, just in exposition. I have some other stuff I can talk about next episode, for episode 7. But basically, I feel like this show is not nearly as clever in all aspects as it thinks it is. Granted, it's very clever in a lot of aspects. It's a very smart show. I'm going to finish season 1. It's better. Like, it's still a good show. But because the good is so good, that when I see sloppy things like Deus Ex Machina pills and Deus Ex Machina museums and like things that she can just go to till I have things explained to her, I'm distracted more than I am anything.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. I don't know that I necessarily feel that way, but I respect your opinion for sure. The one thing I think...
I don't see how you couldn't.
Respect your opinion?
No, well, yeah. Well, obviously you have to do that. No, I'm just... I'm talking about like, how you couldn't see it that way. Like, I was worried about it before the episode even aired. Like, as soon as she took the pills and we saw the next time on in episode 5, I think I like put into the Slack channel. I was like, guys, I'm worried.
You
Yeah.
did.
So did that not cross you guys' brain at all? Do you guys sympathize with me? I mean, Do you see what I'm saying? Like, the only reason that these pills even exist is so they could have a trippy episode where we could complement the directorial style, and they could just do an experimental trippy episode.
So here's what I did think about. I did think that the Schindler's Listy, like, artistic flares that they did, like the shots where they reveal, or it changes to Angela instead of the grandfather in like one seamless shot or something like that.
Yeah.
And like the color stuff. I did feel that they had this as an entire episode so they could do a whole bunch of that, which felt unnecessary. Like, and that's where I sort of feel the wheels spinning that I mentioned earlier. It's like, did this need to be a whole episode? Maybe. Like, there is a lot of information, but did this whole episode need to feel like this? Couldn't we have just seen this stuff regular?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Just like show us a regular flashback, and then
it doesn't,
we don't have to have pills.
Yeah,
I actually
it doesn't
think
stem from the memory pills as a device. Like, I wouldn't mind if it had just been the grandfather the whole time and been in black and white, and then we wake up and she knows everything. Like, I think that would have been okay. I just, like, a lot of the stylistic flares did feel like flares for flare's sake as opposed to serving the story.
I do think that there is a good reason for Angela to be living her grandfather's story. And I think that the show itself is putting forward an idea of passed on trauma, and that you pass on your trauma to your kids.
Especially when they take your memory pills.
Right.
And see it firsthand. I do agree that it's going to help Angela realize something in the future, which makes the plot device of it all seem all the more egregious to me. It had been just the pills, it would be like, well, that's a little convenient, but oh well. This, not like the show has another track record of doing that, but the thing is, it does. The museum.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's just the same thing, but different. There are so many things just lying around conveniently.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you want to get really technical about the term Deus Ex Machina, that is a thing that comes out of nowhere.
That's true.
And they do establish the pills. I know what you mean.
But I also feel like they didn't establish them enough for me not to think that, because it wasn't like these are the pills that like give you your memory back. They're like, they help you with memory, which makes it just seem like pills.
Well, that's what they were for originally.
Right, but they don't explain that until she takes them.
He
says, give me my pills, they help me with memory. And then a couple episodes later, she downs the whole bottle, and then Lori explains exactly what they do.
Yeah, I disagree on the clunkiness, but I think we probably, well, we've discussed it off air, of course, but like, I don't know that we'll totally agree altogether on like clunkiness and convenience of the memory pills. I'm with you on your point, though.
Yeah,
like,
I definitely think I'm in the minority. Everyone else seems to like this episode.
I don't think it's as cool and awesome as the show makes it feel like with its stylistic choices. So I'm with you. It doesn't bother me because that information has to get out some way, and I'm okay with like whatever it is, because I'm just like, okay, let's just move on and like get on with what's happening currently.
Yeah, which
is my biggest feeling about episode 6. Did you guys have? I mean, unless you want to have any final closing thoughts on that, but like, I say if there's anything else you have on episode 6, let's move on to that.
No, just a worthy origin story told in my opinion, lazy way.
All right.
Stylistic, but lazy.
Okay. Anything else on episode 6 before we get into 7?
Nope, we're good.
Yeah. I'm sorry, everyone, if you like that episode.
Yeah.
Please don't hate me.
It's fine.
Thanks.
Yeah. I speak for everybody, by the way. So episode 7, who wants to start us out with episode 7, what you thought about it?
Not me.
Well, I guess that leaves me.
Yep.
I think episode 7, I think there's kind of a cycle. There's the first 3 episodes, and then episode 4 was kind of a weak episode to me. And then we get 5 and 6, in my opinion, strong episodes. And then episode 7, while interesting, kind of has to do a lot of work again, like episode 4. So I can see some weird exposition in here, and like just watching it, I knew some of the issues Mike would have.
Which means they were issues for you too that you're choosing to not pay attention to.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily call it that, because there's
But you noticed they were issues.
There is a certain level of forgiveness that you give a show. And I think we all have like our own threshold for what you will let go or what you get hung up on. And I think each one of us, like over the last 2 years, have like on certain movies or TV shows have been like, nah, that's my threshold. Like yesterday, I remember for me, I was like, nah, I'm out on this movie, and stuff like that. And I think in this one, there's so much going on and there's so much that they're trying to say and so much that they're trying to do that I'm willing to kind of let those things go to a certain extent. But what I will say is I like the way the memories intermingled, both Angela and her grandpa as she's getting rid of her grandpa's memories and going through the therapy. I like how I think it further established the generational trauma, even in Vietnam, because, and the hood. Like, I love the part in the episode where they catch the guy who killed her parents and they put a hood on him and it flashes back to her grandpa putting a hood on, and like tying those things together is interesting. And I actually really liked the big twist at the end. I found that satisfying. So that's how I felt about episode 7. Who wants to go next?
Are you going last, Mike, or do you want to respond?
I would like
Chris?
to go last.
Okay. I'm about where Chris is. I enjoyed this episode. That's not my favorite episode of the series so far, but I enjoyed this one more than the last one because we started moving forward a bit more. And I think the last episode in this one could have been boiled down into one single episode. And in some ways, it felt kind of long to me, both of these episodes at points, because she's still dealing with the fallout of this memory loss thing and going back and forth. And we're still seeing memories and finding out some backstory. Granted, it's hers and not her grandfather's. But I did enjoy, like, the Ozymandias, Adrian Veidt courtroom scene was funny to me. And very silly. A little bit of a shift in tone for me, like, that I didn't expect, but I don't know. And I'm not sure what it's going to add up to. It felt a little superfluous, but we'll see. At least some of the things that happened in that. I did like when we get to Angela finally breaking out, and I really enjoyed like her finding out that she's hooked up to an elephant. Like, that was just kind of weird and funny. And then her and Lady True talking, and the Dr. Manhattan stuff coming out, that he's hiding as a human here on Earth, which is something they set up forever ago. And that's been something that I've been thinking about. I don't remember who it was. They were like, said something that like, oh, he can't pretend to be human. And then someone was like, or can he? At some point that happened.
I know in one of our past reviews, I mentioned the fact that they have mentioned multiple times that Dr. Manhattan can't look human, which means that he will look human.
Sure,
I think I said that in like episode 2 or 3.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. It was pretty obvious from the get-go that someone would be Dr. Manhattan.
Yeah, so I'm not sure it was that surprising. I think that the surprise was who, but also I figured that out immediately when they were like, Dr. Manhattan's here in Tulsa, and I was like, oh, okay, it's her husband. Like, that's the only thing. That's the only like character that it would make sense to be, like this mysterious character that we wouldn't think about and like write off, that we would write off that character and not think about him because they're such a minor character. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
it felt really clear to me, but I enjoyed it, and like it's one of this episode. Now that we've gotten through 6 and 7, like I'm really excited to see where we go from here. Like it's an episode that leaves me at a point of like, okay, everything from here is going to be different. You know what I mean? Like it's changing. It's going to change from here on out. Mm-hmm. And so that excites me. And that's where I left off. So I am ultimately positive on these last 2 episodes, but they're not without their flaws. So Mike.
Yeah. I like a lot of what you were talking about. Also, well, first of all, I want to say Regina King is awesome.
For sure.
Every time Regina King is the focus of an episode, I find myself enthralled by this show. I think she's probably the best overall actor, besides maybe Tim Blake Nelson, in the show. And I like a lot of where this show goes. I like the work it did to give us her backstory about her parents. I like her grandma coming back into the equation from last week, and seeing like that tragic end, it almost just felt like, good Lord, how could it get any worse for this poor little girl?
Yeah.
So yeah, all of that top-notch stuff. That was some of the best stuff in the episode. I think Lady True is a little bit, I don't have the right word for it, a little Lost-y, like the same problem that you have with like the others in Lost.
She's an exposition machine in here.
She's an exposition machine that no one ever asks the appropriate questions to, so that she doesn't have to give appropriate answers.
And then she refuses to give the answer. Like
right.
at some point, like what's
further.
The clock do?
It's annoying when characters do that. Anyway, moving on. I will say that the thing that has been, besides like the pills, which I'm in the process of letting go. I'm trying to let go. That's what the whole rant earlier was, is me trying to work my feelings out with you guys. But the thing that I can't let go, that this episode does more than any other episode so far, which is just awful dialogue. And they all involve Laurie Blake. So first of all, there's the scene where she calls Petey, or Petey calls her, at Looking Glass's house. And they have the terrible dialogue, which is like, hey, Laurie, do you remember when you sent me over to Looking Glass's place to like, come see if he's over here? And she's like, yes, Petey, I remember saying that to you verbatim or whatever. And it's just like, okay, this is rough. And then she goes to the scene. She confronts Judd's wife. That's bad. They try to call it out like, we're monologuing, so they can wink at the audience. That doesn't make it any less bad. And then the remote thing happened to try to drop her down to the other place, That was all pretty rough. And then the scene after that, whenever Keen comes to talk to her, and he's like, hey, Laurie, or whatever. And then she's like, are you kidding me? You have a fucking trap door in your house? Are you kidding me? A trap door? It's just, all that is just really painful to me. And I don't know that Jean Smart is selling it. Or if it's just, I think she's otherwise pretty good, but every time Laurie needs to get like an attitude with somebody, it comes across as really clunky to me. Do you guys feel that at all, or am I completely crazy in that?
To me, it feels like she has an attitude with everybody. It's like she never drops the attitude.
Which is character. It's character work. Like, she's embracing her comedian. She's bitter after everything that's happened to her. But I'm saying, like, as she's talking a lot of times and she's, like, unloading on these people, it doesn't strike me as good dialogue or good acting. I don't know where the fault lies, but I'm always distracted by it.
I have that issue with her sometimes in Legion, where the things she's saying doesn't feel natural. Like, it feels like it's there to learn something or to explain something to a character. And I don't know if maybe it's just her that doesn't handle that sort of dialogue naturally. And maybe it's partially the writing. Maybe it's partially to do with this type of very supernatural, comic booky, graphic novel sort of
right.
tone.
Well, it's like this one. Yeah, it's like this one. They try to do the whole scene that it takes place in so many movies where it's like the villain has to monologue, so they kind of have to like comment on the villain monologuing, but then do it anyway.
Right. That's an old trope.
It's an old trope, but I feel like it's such an old trope that they should be able to do it better.
Yeah, what I will say is it led to my favorite line of the episode, though, where Keen says, "Oh, it's really
hard to be a white man in America,
so I think I'll try blue."
Yeah, that was good to you.
I did like it, maybe because it's goofy.
I thought it was funny.
Yeah, that's what.
Okay, fair enough.
Humorously good, not like badass or awesome good.
Yeah, it's just like, it's hard to be a white man. That's absurd in itself. And he's like, so I think I'll be blue. Yeah. I don't know. For me, that's funny.
Yeah. Absurdly good is probably the...
Yeah. Absurd is a good...
That's the better word for it than funny, probably.
One other thing I did want to point out that I liked. So it's interesting to me that we get Will Reeves, who has to dress up and pretend to be white in order to be a superhero. And then we get the most powerful man in the universe, and in order to hide, he has to dress up as a black man to be an ordinary man and to be forgotten. I find that I think that they're trying to say something with that, and I find it interesting to ruminate on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So those are our thoughts on Watchmen. We are all pretty much going to stick it out for the rest of the season at least, and I am really, truly, genuinely wanting to change my mind a little bit on some of this stuff. So I'm hoping the end of the season will turn me around and get rid of a lot of my problems that I feel haven't been addressed properly yet.
Here's to hoping.
Yeah. All right. So if anyone's still listening and they haven't turned off their podcast mad at me, then what do you guys say we go ahead and move into our review of Knives Out?
I already got mine out.
Go.
Oh my.
Harlan started out with a Rusty Smith Corona and built himself into one of the best-selling mystery writers of all time.
30 languages, over 80 million copies sold. You guys fans?
I mean, I don't do much fiction reading myself.
Big fan. I'm a big fan.
Who is that guy?
Mr. Blanc is a private investigator of great renown.
I read a tweet about a New Yorker article about you. You're famous.
The night of his demise, the family had gathered to celebrate your father's 85th birthday. And your son, Ransom, did he attend as well?
Yes, but he left early.
I think Linda was upset.
Walt would get a little Irish courage in him. He'd get into it with Harlan.
What? Richard said what?
Are you baiting me, detective?
Attempting to be thorough so we can figure out the manner of death.
You mean if someone killed him? You think one of us, one of his family,
Walt.
killed him?
Mr. Blanc, I just buried my father who committed suicide. Why are you here?
I suspect foul play. I have eliminated no suspects.
All right. So as always with our theatrical current release films, we are going to be doing a non-spoiler section first. So we won't be giving away any major details or really a whole lot about the movie, just kind of our general impressions and our thoughts and a recommendation about the film. And then we'll give you a spoiler warning and alert. We'll play a little 15-second bumper, so you have plenty of time to pause the podcast, go see the film, and then come back and finish listening. You're welcome.
Knives Out. Written and directed by Rian Johnson, starring Daniel Craig, Chris Evans, and Ana de Armas. The IMDb synopsis says, a detective investigates the death of a patriarch of an eccentric, combative family.
Lovely description. I really like it.
Wonderful description.
That's about all the details we should give away, too, of this plot, because it's...
The review is over.
Yeah. Moving into spoilers.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Justin. We are going to keep this section brief. There's not a whole lot you can say about Knives Out without getting into spoilers. Normally, we do like to talk a lot in non-spoilers about the movie, but I think we're going to keep it pretty brief this week so we can just get it right in there.
That's right.
Who wants to start off with their overall thoughts, spoiler-free, on Knives Out?
I vote Chris.
Yeah, I can get us started. Yeah, so I have been a big fan of Knives Out, or not Knives Out, Rian Johnson, for a long time. Back when we had MySpace, I remember making the layout for Brick, where the Brick theme song came on, and it was all like the poster for Brick
MySpace
was
layouts. Yeah. I remember those.
Because I really liked Brick a lot.
Man, those were so annoying. Like, you would go to someone's page and then a song would start playing right away, but usually I would be listening to my own song.
Yeah, but what if it's Rian Johnson's song from Brick? That's pretty awesome.
I'd have to stop my own song that I was listening to from Rian Johnson's Brick, pause it, so I could listen to yours on your MySpace page.
Well, that's why my space isn't around, I guess. But, yeah, so I've been a big fan of Rian Johnson. I like his style, even Looper, which a lot of people don't particularly, or they call Lesser Johnson or whatever you want to. I like Looper, is basically what I'm trying to say there. And as no surprise, it doesn't take a detective to figure out that I would like Knives Out. I was really worried about it, actually, that I wasn't going to like it going in, but I did. And I will get into the reasons why and stuff like that later. But those are my brief overview of what I thought about Knives Out. Justin, how about you?
Yeah, I've liked Rian Johnson. I don't think any of his films have, ever really been ones that I've loved or have been like super high up on my list. But I've always enjoyed his films. I think I was most nervous about this one because the trailers, after I saw it a couple of times, really started to kind of look not good to me. I don't know if I just saw it too many times, but I was a little worried. It just looked like it could I kind of missed the mark in terms of tone, or be a tone that works maybe some in a trailer, but an entire film of that tone might wear thin.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my concern. What I'll say is, I really did enjoy this film. I think it's really fun. And I was wrong, of my judgment of the trailer. It was good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that it's a great film for me. I think it's a film that it can be great potentially on rewatches, watching it for like this appreciation of like the detail and the thought and all of the subtleties of the film that it's just impossible to pick up on a first time viewing of a film like this, because you really need to have seen the whole thing to really understand stuff that happens early on in the film, right? Like, I think there would be some appreciation there, but like, yeah, I had a good time. Like, I think it's super fun. And I think if you want to have like just a fun, I don't really want to have to think too much time, go see this movie, because it's very, very fun. And I laughed plenty and was intrigued from start to finish.
I did want to give props to the trailer, because this was a hard one to avoid the trailer for. It played in front of every movie for a while. But after having seen that trailer so much, I didn't necessarily know what I was in for with the movie. Like, the trailer does a good job of protecting its secrets, is what I would say.
Yeah. All right, Mike.
Yeah, this was a movie I was looking forward to more based on my appreciation for Rian Johnson versus the trailer itself. I've been a huge fan of Rian Johnson since Brick. I'm kind of like you, Justin, where it's like, I don't know that any of his movies have ever been movies I've like given 5 out of 5 stars to. Maybe Brick. Back when I first saw it, I was really high on Brick for a while. I thought Brick was really cool. I haven't seen it in over a decade. I would love to see it again to see kind of how it holds up now. Mm-hmm. But I would say Brick is probably as close to great as I've ever felt throughout his career. I really like The Last Jedi quite a bit. I think it has some really high highs, but also some pretty low lows. But I think the higher highs are better than the lower lows, if that makes sense.
Yeah, they outweigh them.
Yeah, for sure. So Rian Johnson has always been a filmmaker that I think I've liked every movie of his. Yeah, I think Looper is the closest I've gotten to not liking one. And even then, I only don't like it compared to his other movies. If I'm being fair, I think it's still a decent movie that I just don't like as much as his other ones, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. In this movie, Knives Out, I think there are plenty of twists and turns, and in my opinion, plenty of laughs.
Mm-hmm.
It keeps it coming. I think the cast is having a blast here. I think everyone involved was having a good time being there. And I think it's funny that you can see Rian Johnson kind of working out some of his Star Wars frustration in the script here, based on the reactions that he's been dealing with on social media ever since Last Jedi came out. So anyways, this movie's fun. I'm with you guys. It's way better than the trailer makes it out to be. I think this movie could easily increase in my affection for it upon repeat viewings, which is what Justin said. But I think I'm more confident in that because I've been thinking about it all throughout today. And every time I think about a couple scenes, I just laugh in my brain to myself.
Mm-hmm.
The opening shot or the opening scene makes me laugh right before it cuts to the title card with the maid in the tray.
Right. Yeah.
I knew I was in good hands, like pretty much from right there. I was like, okay, I'm going to laugh. And I did. And so I say watch it. It's a feel-good movie. You could probably take anybody to see it other than maybe some bad language. There's not any violence, really. There's you can watch this with your grandma and have a good time.
Yeah.
A good Thanksgiving movie.
Other than maybe like young kids, I think.
Yeah, young kids might be bored, but anyone who can pay attention to adults talking.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And what I will say too is I think this isn't going to be good for anybody who hasn't seen the movie yet, but I think it's a film that'll be really fun to show to other people.
Yeah.
You know, people who haven't seen it and are interested. Like, it'll be really fun to watch it with like a new person every time, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And it reminds me a lot. Okay, I mentioned this in Slack earlier last night, and Chris said it was kind of an astute observation, so I'm just going to go with it here on the show. But I'm going to expand upon it. This movie strikes me as the movie that Bad Times at the El Royale wanted to be.
Yeah.
It's colorful, it's twisty, it's turny, it's got a crazy cast, each character's unique. But whereas this movie is interesting and all the characters are interesting and I want to know more about them, in Bad Times at the El Royale, there was only like 2 interesting characters and they died.
Yes. And the twists felt forced in that movie.
Also, so it seems like Bad Times at the El Royale mixed with... Oh, crap. I had something really good. Damn it.
Murder, She Wrote.
No. No, I actually had something really, really good. Anyway, let's cut it after that.
Yeah, I think if you liked Bad Times at the El Royale, I would think that you would like this movie because it's significantly better, in my opinion. But also, if you like other films like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, or if you like, Sherlock, that sort of stuff, this is up your alley.
Yeah, I mean, I think Agatha Christie. If you like Agatha Christie, this is takes on that same genre and does things well and new and interesting.
For sure,
it's fresh, right?
Yeah. Cool. Well, does anyone have anything else they want to say before we go into spoilers so we can actually talk about the movie?
Yeah, real quick, I want to say, I think the performances here across the board are really fun. Daniel Craig has a line at the end of the movie that still makes me laugh when I think about it.
Yeah.
Which I'm going to talk about in spoilers because it makes me laugh. But Justin, you expressed a couple weeks back that you were concerned about his accent, the Kentucky accent.
The Colonel Sanders.
Yeah, Foghorn Leghorn. But it worked for me in this movie. I'm not going to lie. At first, I was like, I don't know about this. But then by the end of the movie, it just made me laugh.
It fits the tone of the movie, right? And
yeah, I think so.
And I do really enjoy Daniel Craig in this film.
Yeah. When Daniel Craig is in comedies, I think he's very watchable. He was the best part of Logan Lucky, in my opinion.
Never saw it.
Daniel Craig is funny in it.
I believe it. But yeah, the accent, I think, fits well with the film. And it didn't bother me.
Okay, good.
I was worried too,
I know you were.
said.
Because you told me you were.
I was worried it'd just be, it'd feel too much like Michael Scott in The Office when they do the Savannah murder mystery game.
Yeah, I know. You've said that like 3 times, and I still have only seen that episode 1 time and don't remember it at all.
Oh, it's funny.
But I know other Kentucky accents from Colonel Sanders and Foghorn Leghorn.
Yeah, it's Michael Scott doing a bad version of that accent, kind of, but funny.
Yeah, I believe it. Steve Carell's a funny guy.
Yeah. But anyways, where do you guys just stand right now, 1 through 5 on the film?
I'm at a solid 4, but I can easily see if I watch this again, it being a 4.5. But I can also see it just staying firmly at a 4. Either way, I'm enthusiastic about it.
Yeah, I'm an enthusiastic 4 as well. I think repeat viewings will dictate whether it moves or not, and there's a good chance that it will,
Mm-hmm.
But my initial impression is that it's a 4, and I think repeat viewings will probably make it stay a 4, but I think there will be a lot to appreciate. It's just the ride can never be the same.
Yeah, but it's a fun 4. The performances are all fun enough to where I think, and I don't know, but I think even a repeat viewing will make it fun, just looking for nuances that you didn't catch before.
Yeah.
Chris?
Yeah, I'm also at a 4. It's an enjoyable film, and let's get into the spoilers. We can talk about why I'm at a 4.
All right.
You heard the man. Let's go.
Let's go. Get your knives out.
Okay.
That joke won't get old.
No, I guess Rosebud is just a piece in a jigsaw puzzle.
You want a cigarette you got up there? I'll tell you all about it.
Things are going to start happening to me now.
And here we go.
Okay, Chris. You've teased it. Why are you at a 4?
Mainly 2 words. The knives were out. Oh, that's 3 words.
Oh, yeah.
That's 4 words, really.
4 words. All right. Well,
you need a calculator.
In all honesty, Rian Johnson does this a lot, I think, in his films. And I think even this is what kind of upset people for The Last Jedi, is that he subverts expectations a lot of times. And he especially does that here. And I really love the twists. I love the fact the caretaker character, she has a physical reaction when she has to lie. And I can see that being really dumb and not working very well, but it's so funny.
When they first brought it up, I thought to myself, ooh, that's dumb.
Yeah, but it's so funny the way it works in here, and the way people take advantage of that is interesting and a lot of fun. I love the way we go through the first act and we basically get to know the family, and then we find out who the killer is, essentially, right? And then so we spend most of the second act just going along with that character, trying not to get caught, and I think that's it's so much fun, and the way he just flips it on his head is really excellent.
Yeah.
And
well, before you move off on that, can I jump in?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's one of my favorite things about the movie, and one of the things that I didn't expect, because I did sort of expect this whodunit murder mystery, which it is, but I expected to be suspicious of everybody the whole time, and
right.
like, you know, this sort of typical who's the killer sort of thing. But we find out very
I remember
early
the movie
on.
I was going to compare it to. Keep going.
Okay, good. And what I like about that is it is a very different sort of suspense, and it reminds me of something we talked about when we did a Casually Criterion episode on Alfred Hitchcock's Notorious. Is that suspense or one of the best ways to, like, for suspense to be like the most effective is when the audience knows something that the characters don't.
Yeah,
and
we're one step ahead of Daniel Craig in this movie.
Exactly, which is so interesting and unique, and I think really makes the film work, rather than just another like, we don't know what's going on, we don't know who to trust, we don't know whatever. It's like, I love just knowing and then watching Daniel Craig not know, and like see him, you know, invite the maid along to like, you're the person I can trust here, like come along with me and help me figure this out, and knowing that she did it. It's like, I don't know, the suspense that like builds from that is, I think it's just like a really smart way to do it, and I want to compliment the film on it.
And Ana de Armas brings it.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah, she's really good.
Like, this is the first time I've actually seen her like acting beyond being like the pretty girl. You know, like she was in Blade Runner 2049, but she was just limited to like the role of Joy, which is like the companion, like the dream companion for a man, you know? Mm-hmm. So like here, it's nice to see her not dressed sexy, not trying to be cute. So I say good for Rian Johnson on casting in this movie for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. One of the things you mentioned, Justin, too, was basically the second act kind of flips everything on its head, and I'm not sure how I feel about Daniel Craig. Or like, is he a good detective or is he just a bumbling fool? You know, because we have this piece of information that he doesn't. So you can see him trying to find the answers, but there's so many dumb things that happen. You're not quite sure how you feel or like about Daniel Craig's skills. Essentially,
I think he's smart, but we're supposed to be doubting that up until the end, because we're not supposed to know how much he's catching on, because we have more information than he does the whole movie, and he keeps going through the motions, and we're like, you fool, put it together, you know. But we don't know when exactly he is or isn't putting it together. You know, at the end of the movie, he's like, I was pretty much on to you since the moment you stepped in front of me and I saw your shoe.
Right. Yeah.
So in a sense, he was ahead of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We spend the whole movie thinking that we're a step ahead of him, but then it turns out he's a step ahead of us. So it really goes back to the whodunit, like detective thing, where like they figured it out, even though we spend a whole movie thinking we're
ahead of him. Yeah, and that's kind of, they talked about a little bit about a sequel, and because of the dynamics in this film, like a sequel would be so much different. I don't know if that it would work as well as this one, but that's for a later conversation.
Yeah, it would be something that I would want him to take a while to put together.
Yeah.
If he were going to come out with one.
Mm-hmm.
So the movie that I was going to compare this to earlier, in addition to Bad Times at the El Royale, this movie reminds me of that movie, and a cross between Chan-wook Park's The Handmaiden.
I have not seen it.
Oh dear,
have you seen it, Chris? Your word for it.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Yes,
just only in the sense that there's so many twists and turns, and every time you think you have the movie like figured out, you don't.
Yeah, completely changes how you see everything before it. Right, that makes sense.
There's enough twists and turns to where you're like, oh, I don't have this movie as figured out as I thought I did. And I have not seen many movies in the past 10 years that have done that better than The Handmaiden.
Does The Handmaiden do it better than this one?
Yeah, because it does it more times. It's a longer movie. The Handmaiden's like almost 3 hours.
Oof.
This movie's a breezy 2.
Yeah.
But anyways, if you like lots of twists and turns, check out The Handmaiden by Chan-wook Park. Good movie.
Agreed.
There's a few shots that made me laugh in this movie quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
The two that come to mind off the top of my head are the shots that every time someone walked up and down the stairs and Jamie Lee Curtis like couldn't stay asleep.
Yeah.
You see Don Johnson behind her like not waking up at all.
Yeah.
That made me laugh because I feel like that's exactly how I am, and Jamie Lee Curtis's reactions were great.
Yeah.
And then the ongoing joke that the alt-right troll kid was in the bathroom all night, and at the end of the movie, he's like, the Nazi child masturbating in the bathroom with like his Kentucky accent.
Yeah, so funny story about that. The particular line is the way that the theater I went to see it at, where like the theaters were set up, is that the doors for my theater playing Knives Out and the doors for the theater next door playing Frozen 2 were right next to each other. And if you don't walk around, like if you don't walk to the right side of the entrance into those two theaters, you won't see that one is labeled 24 and the other's labeled 23. And the main way you come in is from the other side, where you only see like the one label and it looks like two entrances to the same theater. So towards several times during well, I guess not several times, but like in the beginning of the movie, and then later on, like when Daniel Craig is giving his speech, we had people come in like with like young kids, clearly there to see Frozen 2.
Nice.
And they'd sit down for a while and watch, and then like realized, I guess they weren't watching a trailer or something.
Yeah.
But like one of the times when they came in, we're sitting there, it was like when he's doing his spiel, and like Daniel Craig's like, the Nazi child masturbating in the bathroom. And then you see like people get up and like leave. It was really funny.
It's
not
funny.
Slightly distracting.
Yeah, it would be distracting, but that line on its own, had no one not left, is comic gold in my opinion.
Yeah, just like out of context completely. Like it's just a great line delivery. Is that the line that makes you laugh?
Yeah.
The one I thought you were referring to was the donut hole within the donut hole.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, that was great.
Was amazing.
Yeah,
yeah. He's like, but now I see.
Is awesome.
With his own donut, with his entirely own hole.
Yes, it's so great.
Yeah,
and he's so earnest about it and delivering it with such straight face. You're just, it's hilarious. Yeah,
yeah.
And that line, I think this movie really walks a fine line, because a lot of these things, from, the trope of, or not trope, but like the idea of her not being able to lie without throwing up. A lot of these things, and that line in itself, if not done right, can be really, really bad. You turn this movie into, a Bad Night at El Royale, and yeah, but it delivers. It walks that line and delivers the whole movie.
I'm going to disagree with you, because I think that line is gold when you think about it, and it's gold when you write it down on paper. And as long as it's not delivered in a poor way, it's still gold. Like, I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm kind of saying what you're saying. Yeah. But like, I don't know. To me, the donut line is just like a joke that just works all the way around,
Would you say there aren't any holes in it?
Yeah.
Well, it's Daniel Craig's conviction in his face, and like the fact that he's serious. It's not like a joke to him.
Right, exactly.
The donut analogy is very profound to him.
Yeah, I love it. It's my favorite joke and like bit and like in the film that's recurring. My second favorite, I love that every time they talk about the housekeeper, they name a different country.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like Belize, Ecuador.
She's Ecuadorian, then later she's Brazilian. She's from, I thought you were from Uruguay.
Yeah.
I like how, this family is all sorts of different kinds of shitty, but there's liberal shitty, and then there's Republican shitty, and they're all kind of the same level. It doesn't matter what political affiliation they are, they're still the same level of shitty.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So what is Rian Johnson trying to say here? So like throughout the whole movie, he makes it a point multiple times to tell us, he wanted you to earn something for yourself. He wanted you to earn something for yourself, et cetera, et cetera. Like the worst thing he ever did for you was give you everything. That's the realization that Christopher Plummer came to his final week. And so the night of his death, he kind of cleaned house. He was like cutting them all off, basically making sure they all had to do something on their own to gain character. And then cut to Ana de Armas, who has character. She's been hardworking the whole time we've known her. That's why he loves her. She's his friend. She's not self-centered. So, and with the politics talk earlier in the movie, this is very much a 2019 movie. This is very much about America today and Americans today. And Ana de Armas is clearly like an immigrant.
She's from
Uruguay. This family, is this representative of like children of millionaires everywhere? Like there's no such thing as like the son of a millionaire who deserves what he has. Can you be a rich kid and still be a good person? Or do you have to only earn it through hard work, and that's the only way to truly become like a rich person who is also good?
Well, I don't know, because the maid in the end is essentially handed it. And granted, like you said, she does
but Daniel
good
Craig,
stuff, but
if you take it into the real world, she didn't do enough work to earn all the money she got. Sure. Like in a normal profession. But what Daniel Craig says at the end of the movie, he's like, you won, but you didn't do it by playing their game or whatever. He's like, you basically did it by being a good person and hard work.
Right.
And that's essentially what Christopher Plummer was saying the whole time. He's like, you're not lazy. You work, you earn, you're a good person. You're not wanting to be handed things. And that's exactly what he was hating about his current family. So it seems like Rian Johnson is saying that these people that we vilify, call freeloaders, call whatever, call what you will. If they're coming over here and they're working and they're being good people, they deserve a living more than you because your dad worked really hard for 40 years, 50 years, and saved up.
I feel like they deserve America just as much as we do.
Yeah.
We don't deserve... We're not... How do I word this?
We don't have the moral character. We haven't done anything to earn it, these new generations.
Yeah.
They're so spoiled. They're so given everything that they don't have the conviction, the moral compass. I don't know what you want to call it.
I think we don't inherently deserve America. We have to earn it.
Yeah, no one deserves to be handed anything.
Yeah. And the fact that we fight with each other over, the little things, but yet we still ignore the immigrants and stuff like that, whether you're on the left or the right. I think that's kind of where he's coming from. There's the line at the very end where he's like, you can't take away my, what does he say? You can't take away my ancestral home.
My birthright.
He's like, birthright. And he's like, you got this house in 1980. He bought this. It's not ancestral anything. Yeah. I think that's, we don't necessarily deserve America. We don't inherently deserve America. I think is what it's trying to say.
We can't just be handed any. There is no such thing as a birthright.
Yeah, that's probably a better way to say it.
Yeah, and I think that regardless of the intentions, I feel like it is a film that, Chris, you made the comment that either side you don't deserve anything. I do think, and I think I've seen that some the people on the right are fairly offended and feel attacked.
Imagine that.
So I do think the film is fairly pointed. Are there people on the left? What were you going to say?
Yeah, the Toni Collette's character who also doesn't get right the caretaker's country of origin, and she's just as shitty.
Toni Collette's like a privileged liberal, like a window shopping liberal, right? She spouts off all the stuff that she thinks is good to hear, but she doesn't believe any of it.
Yeah, it's more trendy. It's it's something you're wearing.
She's a rich liberal, basically.
Yeah, and
she's like Lindsay Bluth.
Yeah,
from Arrested Development.
But I do think that the left is just as. I mean, when I walked out, I saw this with a friend. I was like, I thought that it was fairly even-handed in the way, that whole family is shitty.
I definitely think Rian Johnson's politics are definitely more on the left, and that comes across in the movie. But he does make an effort to try and throw both parties under the bus equally and point out that there are flaws on both sides. But inherently, I don't think you can come away with this movie not taking a left-leaning message from it.
Right. Certainly because the immigration thing. I guess I can see that. What my point, I guess, was the family, whether left or right, are both shitty.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure,
It's calling out privileged Americans in general.
Yeah, and I think there's sort of a catharsis in the end for not necessarily left or right, but the underprivileged hard worker.
Exactly.
Yeah, like blue collar, lower class, or even maybe lower middle class.
Right. She's not attacking anybody for their political beliefs. She just is a hard worker and loves people. And tries to look for the best in people.
Because there's so much talk of these days, and I mean probably for the last 10, 20 years, maybe even for the last 100 years, whatever, talk of taking money from the people who have too much and helping the people who have less. And so there is this political catharsis that I think is a fairly left-leaning idea that are thing that they would want with an immigrant. Or daughter of an immigrant, taking this money from the rich and getting it for herself. you know?
Right. Yeah. And personally speaking, it worked for me. What about you guys? Did this offend you, or do you agree with Rian Johnson? What do you take away from this?
Well, it is actually money, and she's getting that, but I saw it more as a metaphor, for the privilege of being an American or being in America.
Right. That's what I'm asking.
Like
the metaphor.
Okay. I see that more as like taking money from the rich and giving it to the poor.
Right, but I'm asking your personal stance on it.
Oh yeah, I'm cool with it. It did a good job, and I of that.
Yeah,
it made its point very clear, and I enjoyed it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I'm on board with like it as a metaphor. I think it's satisfying to watch for sure. Like that's why Robin Hood works. Regardless of like personal politics or whatever. Like there is a romanticism to like Robin Hood and what he does, and that's like basically the same thing that we end up with here.
Yeah, sure. I think no matter what your political beliefs are, greed is unattractive and selflessness is attractive.
Yeah. What I do think is funny is I'm wondering, is he directly referencing Trump at one point in the film to you guys? Because I think it's Jamie Lee Curtis's character who has like this business empire that she's built, but they make a point of saying she had a $1 million loan from her father. Oh, and if you recall, that is Trump's exact story. Is like, I started off with a small $1 million loan from my father and built this $1 billion empire. And he treats it like I've built myself from. He treats it like I built myself from the ground up, but he started with $1 million loan, and it's like the same story.
Yeah, he even references red hats at some point in this movie, so it's like he's definitely making it about today. Like he's not trying to beat around the bush. I don't think he's trying to call any like one party out specifically. Like I think he wants people to leave the movie, like Chris was saying earlier, like both sides of it called out.
Yeah. I felt some shade thrown at Trump, and I
definitely
by that story
what I'm saying.
specifically.
Like, he's definitely throwing shade at Trump because, like I said, Rian Johnson's a left-leaning dude, and he even references like MAGA hats and all that stuff and everything going on right now. But also, I think he goes out of his way to make sure that he does call out the privileged, like left-leaning people too, with the Toni Collette character and her daughter. I think he's definitely calling out Trump, but not so much so that like it's gonna be cringy, and like everyone who goes to see the movie who actually for some reason likes that guy, I don't think they're gonna come away offended. Well, maybe they will.
I think they will, just because of the scene where they have like the argument about immigrants in cages. But that's going to hit too home. Like I've heard way too many people make that argument, and like to hear these characters like and being portrayed as being greedy, crappy people, and they're making that argument. Like I think it's going to offend people.
Well, I do too, but I also think that if you're watching the movie correctly, you're also supposed to come up with the impression that all of these people are kind of like none of them know what they're talking about.
Yeah, but people shut down when they get called out.
That's true. Well, that's their fault.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think the movie's fair enough. Do you guys have anything else on spoilers?
No. Good movie.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't. Were you guys surprised that it ended up being Chris Evans?
No, definitely not. Because he doesn't show up till like halfway through the movie.
Yeah, it seemed really obvious.
Yeah, that's the one thing let's put it this way. I didn't know for sure, like 1,000% that it was going to be Chris Evans, but I knew that we were supposed to be thinking about Chris Evans because Ransom's character didn't show up until we already knew who the killer was. So you don't hold out like a whole key character and everything going on with him if we already know the killer and it's all wrapped up and we're like, this is what we're going to be doing the rest of the movie, right? So we knew that Ransom had to have some kind of like wrinkles into the plot.
Yeah.
And it's the details of like what he did that make it fun, right? You don't necessarily, it's not necessarily surprise, but like how he did it and why and stuff like that is what's interesting and fun about it.
Yeah. Cool. And kind of building off of that, like one of the things that I look forward to on a rewatch is the one thing that kind of bothered me and I was a little iffy on during the whole like third act, Daniel Craig spilling off all the details and like unraveling the plot in that long section is that, and Chris Evans kind of calls this out, is like how much like conjecture he has in it and like how many like,
leaps of logic.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was about to say. Leaps of logic he's making to put all of this together. And he even admits like, yes, but it's the only way that this makes sense. And I don't know. There was a large section of that where I was like, can he put all this together? Like, does it actually make sense for him to like make these leaps of logic that are dead on? Like, I kind of expected him to be wrong on some things.
I didn't, only because that like last little spiel came so late. Like, we were already expecting him to have not completed his mission, right? Whenever Ana de Armas is like getting ready to come clean about everything, you know, and like share the money or whatever, you know, and then he's like, wait, stop. And once he was like, wait, stop, I was pretty confident that he had all the information he needed. And as far as the conjecture thing goes, like, yeah, there was that one part where he's like, it only makes sense with what comes next. But like, where he ended up, I think made enough sense to where like it didn't feel wrong to me in the moment.
Yeah, I think it's on a repeat viewing, I'll be able to see more of how he puts this together exactly as it is. Like, I think I also just kind of wanted one more thing, like something for him to be slightly wrong about and then have to like put together one more little thing or something. I don't know. Maybe it doesn't make sense because he's a great detective and he can't be wrong in the end.
Well, I think he spent so much of the movie us thinking he's being wrong or us thinking he's not observant that at the end of the movie, I think Rian Johnson just wanted us to be like, no, wait, he was capable this whole time. We just didn't realize it.
Yeah.
Because they even have that scene where Ana de Armas was like, you're not a very good detective. I had to pretty much do this whole thing for you. And he's like, well, to be fair, you're not a very good murderer or whatever. Like,
right.
So because of that scene, I think that at that point in time, I don't think we wanted any more doubt on Daniel Craig's character because the character had already put doubt in his character in our brains.
Yeah. Fair enough. Cool.
Yeah. I'm done with this movie.
Yeah, I'm done with it too.
Yeah. Chris, are you done with it?
No, let's talk some more.
Okay.
No. Cool. Well, then that does it for this episode, right?
I believe so.
I do believe so.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. And then, of course, thank you, Jake Wagner-Russell, for doing our intro and outro music. If you want to hear more of his music, you can do so at soundcloud.com/bopscotch.
Stay tuned to this feed. Our next episode out will be a bonus episode on Martin Scorsese's The Irishman. And then after that, I believe we are doing a full episode on Marriage Story. And then come January, we will start our regular Criterion Collection episodes again. So don't worry.
Don't.
Thanks so much. Oh, go ahead.
All right. If you want to send us any questions or topics to discuss on the films that we're going to be reviewing each week, you can follow us and send your questions to Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at casualcinecast.
Thanks so much for listening. We'll see you next time.
I don't know how to say bye in a southern accent, so I'm saying bye in a southern accent.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
I bid you adieu.
Perfect.
Good day. No, that sounded weird. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm calling it a quits.
Calling it a quits.
I'm calling it quits.